Kids Playground.
Hooray!
This is the Deron Harris Podcast. Here's your host, Deron Harris.
Hey folks, what's up? How you doing? Hopefully everybody had a good week. Hopefully everybody's mental health is good this week also. Speaking of mental health, this is actually Mental Health Month. So, shout out to everybody out there who is out there seeking treatment. And if you haven't gone out and sought treatment, make sure you get on that bandwagon because it really does help. I myself am in treatment, and I'm not afraid to say it. I share it all the time, and I talk about it pretty frequently. But today I'm talking about what do you? I want to ask a question. What do you love? What do you love? Now, I'm not talking about a person. I'm talking about an activity, something that you do. What do you love to do? And the second question I have is, how come you're not doing that for a living? Now, a lot of people are like, yeah, man, fucking great question. I love a lot of things, but I have a job and I really can't do it for a living. Well, how do I create my own lane? Well, first there's a lot of things you got to understand. You got to get some things together first. You have to get with yourself and you really have to dig deep inside to find out what it is. You have to find out what your passion is. What is the most crucial part of who you are. What can you create? Can you create anything? This is the most important part because this is the part that helps you get started. This is the part that when you don't feel like doing it, this is the part that reaches down in those spaces and pulls you up and makes you and forces you to go out and do these things. So the first thing you have to do is figure out what it is you do, what it is that you love. The second thing that you have to do is you have to make a choice. You got to make a choice. You have to make a choice for a lot of different reasons. And the reason why a lot of people have to because a lot of people do a lot of different things. They do a lot of different things. They have a lot of different talents that they can pull from and that they do well. They can't really put a finger on it. But that's something that you have to do. You have to make a choice. You got to make a choice. You got to prioritize. You got to figure out a way. If you do multiple things, you try and figure out, if you're not, try and figure out a way to incorporate both. But my advice would be, pick one. Pick one and go at it as hard as you can. And once you get to where you are, maybe you can incorporate another one. But you got to make that choice. You got to make that decision. You got to pursue and you got to stick to it. Don't let anyone or their words put you off. Don't let any of that get in your way. Don't let anybody's words, your friends, your mother, nobody, because a lot of times your friends don't really know what the fuck they're talking about anyway. So trust your instincts. Trust who you are. Trust the inside. Trust your instincts. What do you think about what I'm doing? Because ultimately, that's the most critical. Now, don't get me wrong. You do need some feedback because a lot of us go out in the world. We think we have some shit down, and we clearly don't have it down. But we need some sort of I guess kind of litmus test to figure out if we're headed in the right direction, because it can be difficult. Because a lot of people, they try and they feel like they're not getting anywhere, and I completely understand because I feel like that a lot. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that a lot because there's a lot of things in the way. And I'm going to tell you why there's things in the way. And it's because life itself is one of those things that as soon as you get some shit going on that you love for yourself, life has a way of making you do what it wants you to do. So, for instance, I'm a comedian. That's what I wanted to be my entire life, my whole entire life. The only thing I ever wanted to be was a comic. That's the only thing I ever wanted to be. So I'm 54 now, and the first time I ever went on stage to do comedy, I was 16 years old. And I knew from that day, and I was, I was living up north, and I would actually, sometimes I try to go by, famous clubs before I was old enough to go to these clubs, to try to, see who I could see. But I wasn't really doing anything. I went to my very first encounter with stand-up comedy was a gong show. I was 16 years old, and it was a gong show. It was at a place in Clifton, New Jersey called Casey's, if it's still open. And my oldest sister, she took me, and she was like, this is, and this is why I'm telling you, don't listen to your family. Now, I love my oldest sister, but my oldest sister was like, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. You're not gonna, I mean, really, she was like, you're not gonna do well. I mean, really, hating on me. And I stayed focused, and I wrote a bunch of jokes, and I wrote a bunch of things that I thought at that time were funny. And it was a bunch of soap opera shit and, just stupid shit. I was 16. I had no guidance. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So she takes me to this place, Casey's in Clifton, and it's a gong show. And not only is it a gong show, it's a variety show. So there's more than just comedians there. There's singers there. There's people who are doing poetry. There's there's bands, people, all kinds of shit. So, a lot of this stuff went on. Some people, they were great. Some of they were great. So my first time, I get up on stage, and I go up there and I start doing my jokes, and I get in. I guess I get maybe one or two jokes out. I get maybe two jokes out, and this lady, she gets up and she picks up the thing and she gongs me, gong, and this big lump in my throat, and I was nervous as hell to begin with, and I didn't want to straight out, cry in front of a bunch of people at a bar. Even though I am 16, my sister, I'm looking over in the corner, and she's laughing her ass off because she's just, I told you so. So the whole ride home, she was on that I told you so shit. I was, of course, I was devastated. I went home and tore up all my material. I was just like, but when I was 19 years old, I was 16 when that happened. When I was 19 years old, I moved to Tampa, Florida, and I got a job as a doorman at a comedy club. And that's when I really realized that I loved it. And that's when I realized that I can create my own lane with this right here. And the thing about it is a job, the thing about it, you can create your own lane in the respect that nobody can take this skill away from me, okay? I worked myself. Nobody can fire me from it. Nobody can, you can tell me, we don't want you to perform on this stage, but there's millions of stages across. But, my brand of comedy may not be everybody's brand of comedy, and I understand that. I completely get that. But a lot of people do like my comedy, and I do go out and I do comedy. And it's fun, and I have fun, and I make a little bit of money at it sometimes, and but it was something that I had to decide for myself that I wasn't going to let anybody get in my way, what they said, how they were behaving to me, what they said about my jokes, how corny I was. There was one time a friend of mine was like, we were on a 3-way telephone call with his girlfriend, and he said, "Oh, let's go see Deron. He's doing comedy now." And she said, "Oh, Deron, he's so corny." And, that kind of hurt my feelings too, but I could not let that stop me. I didn't let it stop me. I didn't let it get to me. I didn't let it hurt for a minute, but it gave me, it really kind of gave me more determination, because I was like, you know what, I'm going to actually do this. I'm going to go out and do this. So the reason why I say that you have to go out, if you owe it to yourself to do this, because it's good for you. It is good for you to pursue the things that you love. It's good for your mental well-being. And if you can turn that into a job, you can create your happiness. You can create happiness beyond what you ever thought working for a job. Now, I'm not telling everybody to go out and fucking quit their jobs. I'm not doing that at all. And don't listen to me. But you can really go out, and if there's something that you are genuinely good at, and people are telling you you're good at that, and you have talent at it, you can possibly turn it into something. You really could. And there's many ways to do it. In life, as things go wrong, life forces you to go out and turn away from the things that you love and go out and get a job. Go out and just get a job. And what happens is people start working, and they start, spending more time working and less time, really cultivating the thing that they love, this thing that they burn for. They spend less time because they're working because they have to. Rent is due, fucking all kind of shit is due. You know what I mean? So they have to really kind of buckle in and say, listen, I'm going to put this on the back burner for the sake of my family, the sake of my bills, the sake of, trying to survive. But what happens is, as you strip that away, you end up damaging yourself. And you do it a lot without knowing. Because you're effectively taking yourself and you're putting yourself behind everybody else. Listen, a job, all right? The problem with your job and every other job is the fact that it's a fucking job. That's exactly right. You're an employee. Most of the time, you won't have any say in anything. It creates a worker mentality, which kills the dreamer mentality, effectively killing the dream that you may have for your life. Even if you've worked on this dream your whole life, one job or one thing can derail that whole thing. And you have to go out and get a job. You put your company first. A lot of us, I know that I was guilty of that for a long time. Put my company first. I would submerge myself in my work, just working at it. But the problem with what I did, because I had to stop doing comedy, the problem with what I did is I worked in the hospitality industry my whole career. I was either, pouring drinks or I was standing on stage. And what happened is I didn't have the luxury of working during the day. I had to work at night. Because that's just what I was able to find in order to survive. So I had to work at night. So I wasn't able to go to the clubs because nobody's doing comedy shows at 11:30 in the morning. Nobody's doing that. So I had to miss. But it got to the point where I had to make some sacrifices. I really did. I took a pay cut. I changed my job. A lot of things happened to me. Because of this. Because I did not pursue what I loved. It really was damaging my happiness and my whole mental state of being, and I didn't really realize that. I thought that me going to work every day and achieving and earning this money and bringing this home and paying this bills and I thought that was fulfillment and happiness, and I was fucking wrong, man. I was dead fucking wrong. Me and my wife, she's always made more than I have, but we didn't do bad. We didn't do badly. But I just wasn't fulfilled. I just was not where I wanted to be. And all the time I'd look and I'd see, some of my friends, look on my social media, and I'd see all my friends making advances in comedy. And I don't want to hate on them. I'm not hating on them. I absolutely love that they succeeded. But for me, I started turning in on myself and saying, well, why did I stop? Oh, yeah, well, I had to do this. Well, why did I make this sacrifice? I made all these excuses as to why I stopped doing comedy when really what I should have been doing is making reasons for continuing to do it. You follow? You get me? At your job, you are expendable. You have to understand that. You are expendable at your job. Your job is like, it's like Jay-Z. Jay-Z is, I make the best bitch see the exit. For real, you like the best bitch. They don't care about you. Your job, as much as they might give you a fucking Rolex for Christmas, but make no mistake about it. You make too many mistakes and you're fucking fired. Make no mistake about it. You're late one too many times and you're fired. You say the wrong thing, you're up in fucking HR for some shit. It's crazy the way shit works. It's crazy the way things are. But we have to do it. We have to do it. Or do we? I'm a firm believer in we don't have to do anything that we don't want to do, and we are more than capable of doing exactly what it is that we do want to do. So how do I make my own lane? So how do I create that lane? How do I become that self-sufficient person that I want to do? And I'm not talking about just comedy. I'm just using my life as an example. I'm talking about anybody. If you're a plumber and that's what you love to do, how the fuck do you do that instead of being the garbage man is what I'm talking about. And there's a lot of fucking factors to it. I mean, there's a lot going on with it. Hold on one second. You know, how do you make your own lane? Know what you want. That's the first thing. Know what you want. Be definitive about what it is that you want. You have to focus and really give it some thought. Just like in the beginning I said, you got to focus, man. If you're all over the place, you got to go to the club, or you got to go out here, you're going to the gym, all this other, you got to focus in on what it is you love. You got to give it some time. 2, you don't do it for the money. I know, that's why listen, don't do it for the money. Do it for the love. All the comedians that I know that did it for the money either suck or they don't do comedy anymore. You know what I mean? Don't do it for the money. Do it because you love it. And that's why I continue to do it. Even as many times as I continue, I go back to it. And the reason I go, there's a lot of things I can do. I make beats. I'm a musician also. I'm an athlete. There's a lot of things that I do, but I bake. The one thing that I love is making people laugh, bringing people together, trying to bring people together through laughter, because this world is fucked up. This world is fucked up. You have to be comfortable with the fact that you may never get there. But you also have to understand that you're definitely not going to get there if you don't put any fucking effort into it. If you don't start, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get there. Don't put it off. I haven't been on stage until last night, really. I haven't been on stage for 2 years. And I'm just getting back into it because, as I like to say, not like to say, but as everybody who listens to my podcast knows, I'm in therapy, and for a lot of crazy shit up here in my head. So I'm starting to get a handle on it. And last night was the first time in a long time that I felt the desire and the love to go back and stand on stage and tell jokes, to go back on stage and just try some shit that didn't work. People stared at me, got a couple of chuckles, but it wasn't about that. It was about going out and doing the thing that I loved. And even if I don't get any laughs, or even if I don't get on TV or some sort of movie deal, I don't give a shit about that. I do it because the only thing I want to see is people laughing and have a good time. That's the only reason I do it, and that's the reason that I don't do it for money. I don't do it for money, and I'm okay with me never getting to be a movie actor. That's the ultimate goal. Write out a plan. Write it out, and that's what I did. That's something that somebody else told me and is very effective. Write it out. Write out a plan. A plan is the closest thing that you have to a roadmap to your success. That's what he told me. Listen to what I'm saying. A plan is the closest thing to a roadmap to your success. That's the closest thing you got. So take the time. If somebody, give me a minute, man. Take the time. I write profusely. I write all the time. But one of the things I did was write out my plan. And I'm following. It's a long ass plan, you know what I mean? But I'm following it. I'm following it as well as I can, as close as I can. And hopefully, not even hopefully, I am doing it. Hopefully I get to keep doing it. And that's what I'm saying. Hopefully I get to keep doing what I love. And I never stop. That's what it is. Never stop. If you're doing something, don't stop it. 75% of it is showing up. If you don't want to go, you have to make yourself get your ass up. I know this is not new information, but you got to make it a priority. You got to make it a matter of life and death, not of you, but you have to make it a matter of life and death. And this is what I had to do for me. I had to make it a matter of life and death for my dreams. I didn't want my dream to die. And that's what's happening. A lot of people are having to go to work and they're fucking running the rigmarole. I didn't want my dream to die. So, while I do know that there's bills, I'm never going to put this away. I'm never going to put it away. And I'm okay with never reaching that goal. But I want to do this for the rest of my life. And whatever it's going to take is whatever it's going to take. I'm here for the duration. Pedal to the metal. You got to put the pedal to the metal. All right? And what I mean by that is if you have a job, right? You work, you got a job, cool. If you get off at 5 o'clock, leave that motherfucker at 5 o'clock. Not 5:01, 5 o'clock. You got to be more like Snoop Dogg. And this, I don't love you hoes, I'm out the door. You have to give yourself some time. Let me give you an example. I used to work at a place in Manhattan called the Coffee Shop Bar in Union Square. Great place, awesome place. And there was a guy there, and he was the coffee bar guy. He worked at the coffee bar, and he made coffee. But every day, as soon as he was done, and he was like, man, I got to get out of here. He was like, snap, snap, chop, chop. I got to go, I got to go, I got to go. And he left. And when we didn't see him, we didn't realize that this motherfucker was Maxwell. He went out, and he was cutting his album. He was going to make his dream come true. He was leaving. He put himself first, not this fucking job. He put himself and his dreams, and he did whatever he had to do, and he sacrificed, and this motherfucker made coffee. He made coffee at the Coffee Shop Bar in Union Square. I'll tell you another story. There's another guy. He came to Manhattan. I remember when he was young, he used to hang out with a dude named Rome. Shout out to Rome, by the way. What's up, homie? He used to hang out with a guy named Rome. And they ran around, and Bobby also, they ran around a lot. They was running around a lot. But what was happening to this guy is they was telling him that your brand of comedy is bullshit. You ain't never going to be funny. We're not going to give you, you're not going to get any stage time in New York. You should try something different. So he tooled around New York for a little while. And then he told her, I'm moving to Los Angeles. I'm moving to L.A. Because maybe there's a better opportunity for me out there. And he moved out there from New York to Los Angeles, and in like a year, this motherfucker had the Eric Andre show. It's Eric Andre. Eric Andre is somebody that did not listen. He didn't listen. He listened to his heart, his instinct, and I'm going to achieve this no matter what. I cannot be stopped, and that is the mentality that you have to carry every day. Not that I got to get up and go to work, and I'm trying to achieve, and I need to get a fucking raise, and fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck getting a raise. You need to raise yourself to the point where you say, I'm above this. I can get by this. I can create my own lane. And that's where I am right now. Okay? Because I'm tired of being used. I'm tired of being used by the workforce. Used, and we all are. Everybody, I'm looking at my Instagram feed right now. And there are people joining my Instagram feed. And I bet the majority of you guys have, a job that you go to. Some of you may like your job. Very, very few of you, I bet, love your job. I know some of you probably do. But I bet some of you probably have something different that you would rather be doing. Something that you dream about. Something that you've always dreamed of. But this job has got you tied up. So what do I need to do? Well, I'm going to tell you what you need to do when I come back from break. This is the Deron Harris Podcast. I'll be right back.
Now, back to the Deron Harris Podcast.
Hey, folks, what's up? Welcome back to the show. Today, I'm talking about doing the shit you love for a living. That's what I'm talking about. That's what this show is about. Do the shit you love for a living, man. I saw during the pandemic. Remember the pandemic? Remember what was happening during the pandemic? Fucking nothing. Nothing was happening during the pandemic. Everybody was in the fucking house. Everybody was in the house. Everybody was in their house for the pandemic. But you know what a lot of people did? They found other ways to make revenue. We were some of those people. We started making soap and all kinds of other shit. That's what we did. We created a lane. And it got to the point where we could get to different farmers markets, and we just went to these farmers markets. We just went to these markets and made money, started making money, like decent money. You know what I'm saying? But then pandemic was over, and we got back into that same mentality of, I need to go to work. I need a job. I got to survive. Rent's $1,000 million fucking dollars. Food is fucking astronomical. Eggs is $19 a fucking, a dozen. And that's the shit that's what that's what we ended up with. That's what we came back to from the pandemic. When we came back, but like I said, a lot of people during that pandemic, they figured out other ways to create their own lane. They figured out, a bunch of content creators fucking happened. You know what I'm saying? A bunch of people started making content and then figured out how to make a lot of money doing it. And now today we have a huge influx of people who make content, want to make content, and that's what they do. They make content. But there are a lot of other people who chose this opportunity to study, or take an online class. A lot of things people still were able to do for themselves, even though they were not able to go to work. Granted, a lot of us were waiting on, stimulus checks to hit because, the pandemic really kind of fucked a lot of people. But like I said, a lot of people figured out a way to create their own lane, get their own shit, and now they still have that today. They're still doing those things today. They created these businesses out of nothing. But now all of a sudden we can't figure out how to create these businesses, but we can. These people did it. They showed us how to do it during the pandemic. So many people. There's like a record number of billionaires this year, even over 100 something, 140 some odd billion, something like that. People made money creating things for themselves. We can do it. We all have the capacity to do it. The first thing we have to figure out, though, is what the fuck do we love? What do we love? What do we love to do? And like I said, I'm not talking about a person. I'm talking about something that you have always desired and dreamed of. What are your dreams? If you want to be a fucking astronaut, try and be a fucking astronaut. The only thing fucking stopping you is you. People did tell a lie, though, and said that everybody could do everything. That's not always true. There's some people, like I know. Maybe I could, but I know I'll never be no astronaut. I know that. But maybe. But that's not my thing. I don't love that. I'm not in love with that. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not in love with that. I want to entertain people. That's what I'm in love with. So that's what I pour all my extra time. That's what I pour all my extra effort. There are 24 hours in a day, right? There's 8 hours that you're supposed to be sleeping. Then there's 8 hours you're supposed to be your ass working. And then there's 8 hours that you have for yourself, right? So you sleep, all right? You sleep 8 hours. Now, I have insomnia, but you're supposed to sleep. If you sleep these 8 hours, you slept those 8 hours. You rested. If you sleep more than 8 hours, then you're cutting into other time, right? Sometimes that time is, I'm late to fucking work. But if it can be on your personal time. And the more that you shrink your personal time, the less chance you have of being able to create your shit. The more time, like if you get off at 5 and you want to stay and you decide, I'm going to stay a little, I'm going to stay a little extra. I'm going to stay, an hour after work. That's an hour of your personal time that you have given to this job, when you could have been developing your craft. And you have to keep that mentality. I know this is not groundbreaking information. I know that. But what it is hard for people to grasp and keep and maintain. It's hard for people to maintain that. This is not new information. This is definitely not new information. But it's very valuable information that we need to learn to retain. We got to retain this. There's things that we can do. We just got to go out and do them. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's going to do it for this week's episode, folks. Go out and make your way, man. Go out and don't let people deter you from your shit, man. Don't let people tell you that your beats suck. You know what I mean? Like, don't let people tell you you'll never be a fucking actress. Don't let people tell you your fucking, your food is terrible. Don't let people do that to you. Don't let people do that to you. Always push for yourself. Be your number one fan first. Be your number one fan. Give yourself that courtesy. Give yourself that self-love to say, hey, listen, I'm going to follow my shit, and everybody else, they could follow me after that. You dig? So, listen, folks, I'm going to thank everybody. I want to thank everybody for joining me on my Instagram. I want to thank everybody for joining me for my podcast. I want to thank my parents, man, for being great parents and instilling this in me. You can do it. You can do it. You know what I'm saying? I want to thank my wife for being extremely encouraging. And that's the thing. A support system is extremely important. You got to find one. There is somebody out there that you can confide in. Find that person, but do not listen to the masses. Okay? Don't listen to everybody. Don't listen to the masses. Continue to work. Continue to push. You know what I'm saying? And last but not least, well, actually, you know what? There's a couple other people I want to thank. I want to thank Jesse Yandel, my producer, because Jesse Yandel and Gentry Thomas, the gentleman who has the platform that I do my podcast on, he is the epitome of what I'm talking about today. This man had a job, but decided he wanted to do something else. And what did he want to do? He wanted to put together an internet radio station is what he really wanted to do. And I guess about 6 or 7 years later, he has 2 full-time working stations. One of them is Muddy Country Radio. The other one is Shack Fu Radio. And now he has the Podcast Playground. And that's the platform that I'm on, and I'm grateful to him for giving me this platform. I'm grateful to that man for giving me this opportunity to reach out and speak to people. So, this is him helping me create my own lane. This is what he did for me, and that's why I'm thankful. I'm thankful to you, G. I appreciate you, man. And last but not least, I want to thank everybody listening, everybody watching. I mean, I try to come on live on my Instagram. I just started recently doing that, so sometimes you can catch me on my Instagram. It's Darren T. Harris Comedian. And if you want to join me, man, if you want to leave some subjects in my inbox, I'm always willing to talk about anything you guys are willing to talk about. I'll talk about fucking anything. You know what I'm saying? I want to get to the bottom of all of it. I mean, go back. If you're just joining me or just tuning into my podcast, go back. I mean, don't go all the way back to the first podcast because it kind of sucked, but go back, listen to some of the things that I because all I really want to do is give everybody good content, help people. I want to help people, man. I want to help you. I want to bring people up because ain't nobody here, especially our government, our fucking politicians, neither one of them, Trump or I don't care, neither one of them trying to help us. Not us. Okay? Not us. We need to stop being wishy-washy. We need to go out and make our way and show these people that we don't need your policies. We don't need your bullshit. We can create our own lane. You know what I'm saying? So, until next week, folks, I really do appreciate you guys joining me. I'm Darren Harris. Until next week, peace.
You've been listening to the Darren Harris Podcast. Subscribe to the show, give a good rating, and everything you need to know is at DarrenHarris.com.